retired doctor of chiropractic. I was in practice for 25 years in a little town called Wilmington. Anybody ever heard of that place? How you doing, sir? I retired, didn't like it. Anybody have that experience? There's a lot of this that goes on when I ask that question. I just am too purpose-driven and passionate about health to rest idly and sit around doing nothing all day. And so I went to a place called Stretch Zone. Actually, my dad, this is a great story and I want to tell it really quick. My dad was a pretty much semi-pro golfer, like one of the best golfers I've ever met in my life. He had trophies all over my basement, all over. That's the only place my mom would let him keep them. But he moved down here with my mom about 6 years ago and got really lethargic and started to, well, he stopped playing. He didn't have his friends anymore. Didn't go golfing as much. I was working all the time, so I couldn't go out there with him. And he went from being this stud of a man to a guy on a cane. And within 6 months, he was on a walker. And my son was 12 at the time, and I was like, man, I really want my dad to be able to teach my son how to golf. This is like the best golfer I've ever met. And so I was, perplexed as a chiropractor. I would stretch him, I would adjust him, and the only thing that really seemed to help him was the stretching, which I had always put down here as like, yeah, that's kind of important, but not that important, at least in my mind. And so I was looking for the newest, latest, greatest, used old Dr. Google to try to find some answers, and I came across an ad for a place called Stretch Zone. And I thought, what in the world is this? And so I looked it up and I sent him in. It was free to go in the first time, which I thought was pretty cool. Check it out, see if you liked it, see if it was a good fit. And I lived in Leland at the time. I'd actually retired right off of Mako Road. And he came to my house 5 days later and he walked up with the cane in his hand like this up my driveway. And I was like, whoa, 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 don't fall down. And I said, what changed, man? And he said, you know me, I'm pretty lazy. The only thing I did is I went to that Stretch Zone place. And I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive. So I went in as a secret shopper myself, because then I was like, kind of perplexed on how it all worked. And it changed my life. And I wasn't in any pain. I didn't have anything symptomatic going on. I just knew I was losing range of motion because I wasn't as active as I used to be. Fast forward to 2 years later, I now own it. Skip and I are partners. We own the locations in Wilmington, and I'm going to share some good news with you at the end as well. So this is my 38th talk out here in a year. We do a lot of workshops for folks out here. Anybody from Brunswick Forest? Anybody else just from Leland, maybe? Anybody from Wilmington? They don't like to go over that bridge. And I've been here since 2001. I've seen Leland change. It's changed quite a bit. In fact, I was the very first person to speak at Brunswick Forest when it opened. I was over at the old clubhouse. They didn't even have this situation where you could come here and learn. So today is about what I like to, this is a brand new presentation, so if you've been to my other talks, you've never seen this one. And by the way, at the end of this, I'm going to just, announce I've got another workshop next Wednesday at 11 here on lower back and hip pain stretching, safe stretching for the lower back and hips. And then I've got 2 more in February set up for some other topics. Why did I put revolution and not resolution? We all know we should have goals, right? It's not a misspelling. Even the girl that does all my marketing and sends everything out said, are you sure you spelled that right? I said, yeah, I did. And that's because I'm going to try to get out of your way as much as I can. A revolution is a change in your thoughts, right? It's not an action. A resolution, by contrast, is a decision. How many of you guys have made New Year's resolutions in the past? Raise your hand. You all have, at one point or another. Never? Well, it sometimes is pointless, because if it's just a resolution without any idea behind it or any goal behind it, you probably will not keep it. There's a reason I do this on January 8th. Because if I did this workshop on January 1st, people would go, no, I don't need that. I got this. Why do you think we make resolutions on January 1st? Really, it's because well, first off, we probably didn't have the greatest December in our health. The average person gains 12 pounds between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. That means that somebody doesn't gain any pounds and somebody else gains 24. That's how we come to an average, right? So if you didn't gain any weight over the holidays, good job. If you did, it's okay. But January 1st is a new year, so we think I'm going to renew what I'm doing. I'm going to think differently. I didn't maybe live perfectly in 2025, so now I want to try to improve for 2026. So I commend you for being here. Hopefully this will be a pivotal experience where you can learn some things. But just, remember, revolution is an idea. I'm going to try to give you some ideas. But you have to make a decision if you're going to do them, especially if you're going to do some of the stuff at home. Okay. I don't like jacuzzi experiences. Anybody ever been in a hot tub? Jacuzzi? Feels great, doesn't it? While you're in it, you're like, man, I'm going to get one of these. I'm going to put it on the back porch. I'll use it every morning, right? And then about 3 months in, you're like, oh man, I got to change the chemicals again. And oh Lord, I got to fill it back up and change out you get almost like buyer's remorse, I guess, from it. And it doesn't really change your life. So a pivotal experience is different. You want to take these ideas and actually go in a different direction with them than maybe you have in the past. And it's okay if you've made those resolutions in the past and never really did anything with them. It's true that you got to take action. So flexibility is one of the resolutions I think we should all have, right? I mean, how many of you guys have as great a level of flexibility as you had when you were a 20-year-old? Raise your hand. Most of you can't raise your hand because you got a shoulder problem because you've been inflexible for so long. By show of hands, how many folks have dealt with lower back pain? And raise your hand, seriously. You've never had lower back pain. Wow, that's statistically impossible. 84% of the population of adults has chronic low back pain in this country. So technically in a room of 10 people, 8.4 of you would have it or have at least suffered from it to a significant basis. If you haven't, thank God. Keep going in whatever direction you're going in so that you don't end up being one of those numbers. It's more common than heart disease and cancer combined. It is the #1 cause of disability in the entire world right now. But at-home stretching is really important. It's just not the same thing as practitioner-assisted stretching, and that's what Stretch Zone is all about. So I'm going to show you a couple things that we do and how you might be able to incorporate them into your own life. This is the research. You can get 160% change to the range of motion that you currently have, unless you're already perfect. Raise your hand if you're already perfect. I won't even put my hand up. We all need work, right? So it doesn't take long. The research is in. It takes 8 weeks if you're consistent. It's 2 months. Isn't that incredible? If you think about the fact that you might be 70 years old and it took probably 60 of those years to become the pattern that you're in currently, and that you could change it in less than 2 months if you just did something about it. Anybody have pain of any sort, even if it's not back? The rest of you are liars? We're all gonna have some pain at some point from doing something stupid, right? Like we all know, oh, I shouldn't have picked up that box that way, or I shouldn't have laid in my bed on that angle for so long. The problem is that pain is never a fake finding. Pain always happens from damage. You can't have pain without damage. So if you understand that, if you've ever had soreness, or if you have something that you struggle with, sometimes it's just a tightness and not so much pain. Tightness precedes pain. So if you notice that your range of motion, your flexibility has been lost a little bit over time, it's because you are developing a pattern that's eventually going to end up with pain. Take the body aside and look at something like the fire alarm in here. It's not really a fire alarm, right? It's a smoke detector. The smoke is the symptom of a fire. And we have to look at our body the same way. If we have symptoms, the brain is trying to erect some sort of signal to tell you to change or to do something to fix what's wrong, because it can't communicate with you in any other way. If you had a little red light that popped up on your belly button every time you lived wrong, people would walk around like this all the time. So they didn't have to see it, but it's still a problem, right? It's like if your oil light comes on in your car, you could take a Sharpie marker and cover it right up, and you're like, oh, I don't have a problem anymore. So just know that, you don't have to live with pain. This is just a picture of me working on a teacher at a school that we were out at a couple years ago. The coolest thing about what we do is you don't have to really do anything except show up. It's the only form of healthcare I believe that exists that you don't have to be the active participant. And in truth, stretching is way better if you're not the active participant, because if you have to actively use certain muscles to try to stretch other ones, your brain can't rectify that. Your brain's like, I can't relax and contract at the same time. So it's good to stretch at home. Please don't think that you shouldn't. It's kind of like brushing your teeth at home, but there's a place for a professional to come in with your teeth just as much as there is when we're talking about flexibility. It's not just for athletes. This is another mistake I see a lot of people make. Any pickleball players, golfers, any sport? Do you get out of your chair ever? Life is a sport, right? Let's be honest. Like, especially as you get older, just getting out of a chair, getting out of a car, getting in a car for a long period of time is going to put a toll on your body. And the new science shows that at any age, you can get your flexibility back. This is really cool because too many people think, well, I'm a certain age, I should be inflexible, or I'm used to this because it's been the way it's been for such a long period of time. Unlike arthritis or degenerative changes or disc problems that are going to probably slowly get worse if you keep aging, getting flexible, not time dependent. So never give up on yourself, no matter where you are. Okay? It's neurological programming that we have to fight. It's not so much that our muscles have shortened or become old. Because think about it, you have some muscles that are just perfectly fine. How many of you guys, if you have, like, say, shoulder pain, you only have it on one side? Or a hip, oh, it's just my left hip all the time. It's just my right sciatica. It's just my left neuropathy. Like, if it was age, it would wear down in the exact same way on both sides at the same time. So that idea has to go to bed. We have to put the idea to bed that pain is normal, and we have to put aside the idea that it's related to time or age. Some of these pictures I'm going to show are just easy ways to see how some of the stretching is done when it's done properly. Without strapping, it's really hard for people to relax enough to receive a stretch. This person might think they're going to fall off the table if they don't have themselves anchored in. Does that make sense? And so strapping is a big thing. It's a patented thing through Stretch Zone. We're the only ones who can do it. But I want to give you some things you can take home and do for yourself starting today. I'm actually I got a pen on all of your tables. I'm going to refer to this in a minute. You don't have to do anything with it just yet. But I'm putting one for each of you, which means I want all of you to participate. This is for you, not for me. So some of you guys are already clients, and I appreciate you being here because it's never a situation where you can't keep learning, right? But I like a word that I don't know if I came up with it or not, but your stick-to-itiveness, right? Like, how do you stick to a resolution? It's not hard to make one. It's hard to keep one. And an easy way, I'm sorry these pictures are so terrible. That's my Photoshop, talent. I'm only good at one thing. It's putting people back together. Think of a sticky note as being a really easy way to remind yourself every day that you have a mission, that you have a goal. Put it on your mirror in your bathroom. Put it on your refrigerator. We go there a lot. Put it in your bathroom because you're going to go there a lot. Put it somewhere where you're going to see it. Don't put it in your closet behind all the boxes where you're never going to look at it. But something as simple as a sticky note can help you stick to a goal. So if you don't have a goal, that's okay too, because some people never think about the future. If you'd thought back 20 years ago, wherever you are in your life right now, and said, man, if I could have told my 20-year younger self something, and I could have changed my current situation by doing that, this is where you are right now. Most of you are going to live another 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And it concerns me that nobody thinks past 50 anymore. I don't know what's going on, that we all kind of get bogged down by like, well, I'm just in a pattern now, especially when retirement occurs, because I got into the same bad patterns myself. I retired very early, but it's easy to get into a routine that's not great. It's also a great time if you're retired to get into a routine that's really good for you. And then, hell, you got the best opportunity you could ever have if you live here in Brunswick Forest. I talk at a lot of places that don't have the facilities or the amenities or the opportunities that you guys have out here. And yet I go into that wellness center a couple times a week and it's empty sometimes. It's crazy to me. Now, if they're out walking around your little 5-mile loop or they're out doing something else, that's great. But put physical, I mean, you don't have to say exercise, just physical movement into your life more often. You'll see that your body works a lot better. So think about your why. And it won't be a symptom. Thank God you don't have a lot of symptoms in this room. Anybody got grandkids? Great grandkids? Great grandkids? They may be the why, right? I want to be able to play soccer with my 14-year-old, and the other grandmother lives in town and she can do it all, but I can't. Right? There's a lot of things that could motivate you to do something beyond the resolution of your symptoms. And what's crazy is with what we do, your symptoms go away really quick. Most people have an immediate result as soon as they get off the table. Would you say that's probably your experience? I hope you shake your head yes. So I want you to think that you really take a moment. This is a perfect time to do this. It's the beginning of a new year. It's the only time you're going to think about it until next new year. So do me a favor and create in your mind a goal. And, goals should be measurable. It's one of the number one things you got to have in a goal if you're ever going to accomplish it. And the SMART acronym is something that's been used for decades, but I'll go through it in some detail so it makes sense. They're really easy to attain if you just try to do one at a time. If you're like, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to work out, I'm going to run a marathon, I'm going to start playing bingo, I'm going to go golfing, you'll get overwhelmed. And overwhelm is probably the number one reason we don't keep our goals. So let's just set a stretching goal, okay? Now, it doesn't mean stretching like, oh, I got to stretch every day, that kind of thing. Set a goal around stretching and use what we just said before. What's one thing that you think stretching could help you do better? It may be I want to be able to sit at my computer longer and play computer games all night. It may be I want to watch Netflix without my back hurting. I would hope it'd be a little bit more health oriented, like I want to be able to walk 3 miles and keep up with my friends and not have to stop halfway through. Guess what happens if you start walking around with a group of ladies or a group of guys and you're the one that keeps holding them back? At some point, they stop inviting you, right? It's not personal, but it is a reality, and I hear it all the time. So I want you to write down your answer to that question on the sticky note for me. Please, everybody. Grab that pen. This is for you. This is not from me. You're going to keep this. This doesn't come to me. This just goes home with you to go on your mirror. And you can think about it while you're in this talk, because you may not think about it right now until you understand what we do and how stretching really works around some goals. So let's just put up there a few examples of goals. can promise you that something on that list appeals to anybody in this room. And there's 1,000 others that you could come up with on your own. But I'm going to tell you right now, what we do works every time. The only thing that doesn't work is that our clients tend to not be focused on an outcome other than to feel better. And feeling great is good, but anything in this world can make you feel better. We can give you a bunch of drugs and you'll feel great for a long period, about a short period of time, but if you take them forever, you'll feel good for a while. The problem lies back into the fire alarm analogy. Or the oil light analogy is even better, right? If you cover that up with a black magic marker, you may not see the problem's symptom, which is the light, but your car is going to blow up at some point, right? Fire alarm, same thing. If we just blew the smoke away from the fire detector, the alarm goes off and we're not annoyed by it, but there's still a fire, and that will cause damage to something over time. Good morning, Becky. All right, so focus on that one thing and try to put it in a time-bound manner. What could you do between now and 4 weeks from today, right before the Super Bowl? In fact, the Super Bowl is literally 1 month to the day. And what I want you to do is on Super Bowl Sunday, when you're watching the game, I want my little devil and my little angel to pop up on your shoulders and look at you, and you got to look at the one that you either did your goal or you didn't do your goal, because it's got to be time-bound. You'll never get there if you go, I'll be in shape one day. I'll be flexible someday. I'll start walking more with my friends some other day. So now look at your goal and answer these questions. Is it a specific goal? Like, I want to be able to do this, or I'll give you a great example. I want to get rid of my fill in the blank low back pain so I can fill in that blank. I can't make that goal for you. That's a goal that only you can accomplish. But if you want to write that on your sticky note and think about it later, I want to, another line, so I can. Whatever you say after so I can is a good goal. Your goals don't have to be my goals. They don't have to be your husband's goals. They don't have to be your friend's goals. They can be yours. So make sure it's very specific. Is it measurable? And I'll give you a good example. It should have a number in it, right? Anything that's measurable should be number-based, right? Like this lady came in yesterday. I can only walk 30 minutes without my back hurting so bad that I have to sit down, and my dog doesn't like it. What a great goal, because the dog's life depends on her life, right? If she stops walking, the dog stops walking. Or, I don't want to say it's weird. You notice how dogs almost represent exactly what their owner looks like and does? So, is it measurable? I want to be able to walk 45 minutes. It's funny that this is the analogy, because the lady actually was saying 30 minutes, and I said, what if we could go 45 minutes at the end of this month? What would that mean to you? How would that make you feel? And she was like, oh my God, it'd be a life changer. I could actually go all the way around my community and get back without having to stop halfway around. So put a number in your goals, you will always accomplish them much faster. Is it attainable? If you tell me, like somebody did a month ago, I'm training for the Wilmington Marathon. I said, awesome. How far do you run right now? 3 miles, 3.2 miles. And I was like, whoa, a marathon is a lot more than that. Maybe we'll shoot for a half marathon. Maybe we'll just shoot for you finishing the half marathon. Whether you can run it, walk it, limp over the line, have somebody wheelbarrow you there, whatever it takes. I like that she has that goal, but it has to be attainable too, right? So make sure it's a realistic goal. You can always increase your goals as you accomplish one. You'll find that you'll be very easy to turn it into another one, because you'll see that you can do it. Once you see that it's not that hard to accomplish a goal, especially a flexibility goal, you get spurned on to be like, what can I do now that I couldn't do before? I never really thought about, I was just so focused on the sciatica, and now that's gone. What do I do next? Make sure it's relevant. What do you absolutely have to do? What do you know in your own life that if you don't change it at some point very soon, it's going to be a big problem for you down the road? I'll give you the perfect tie-in. My son is 14 now, and my dad is teaching him how to golf, which is beautiful. But he's also a workout fanatic. He plays basketball 4 hours a day, practicing to become the next Michael Jordan in his mind. So I was like, you know what? How could I spurn on his growth and help myself at the same time? I said, hey, buddy, you know so much about working out. Can you make me a workout program for Christmas? That's all I want as a gift, is you to write out what you think a good workout program would be for me. Number one is you better walk a lot more. Ouch. Sometimes it hurts to hear the truth. But I'm on a goal now with him. And this is why I created this in the first place, was I really made this for myself. I was like, how do I keep a goal for the first time in my life where I don't give up on it by February 1st? And then I was like, well, I could share that with everybody else. So I had the idea of doing this, but then that happened at Christmas time. And it was like, how tied in is this? How is the universe really working to conspire for me to get really serious about my goals too? Because I'm a human too. It's a lot easier to not do anything. And then make sure it's time bound. Put a reminder in your phone. One of the nicest things about technology is we can set a reminder in our calendar and put it on repeat. Set it for February 8th and hit repeat and remind me every hour. And see if you got there. If you did, be proud of yourself. If you didn't, don't be discouraged. Just say, well, there's still a lot of months left in 2026. Maybe now's the time. Because the problem is most people are not ready to start when their brain is ready. An idea pops in. It's the jacuzzi analogy, right? I didn't know my friend had a jacuzzi, and we went to that party and we all got in it, and man, it was great. If you don't go back to that friend's house or find another jacuzzi, you might forget about it for a year or 2 or 3. Problem is, a jacuzzi will still feel good no matter when you get in it. If you wait too long on your flexibility goals, you lose them. And it's hard to get back the older you get. It's not impossible. You can change it at any age. But the longer you wait, the longer it should take to fix it, right? That should make sense. It's linear. Why do you think so many kids don't stretch? It's not true. They do need to. Because here's the thing about flexibility that nobody knows, and this is a secret, and this is why this is a revolutionary talk to make you have a different idea, is it doesn't matter how flexible you are. It matters if you're balanced from left to right or front to back. That's the only thing that matters with mobility. So if somebody has a hamstring that's 90 degrees and another one that's only 30 degrees, that imbalance is the problem. Does that make sense? I'll give a perfect analogy. Do you mind being a guinea pig? No, you don't mind, or no, you're not going to do it? So I'm going to do this. So I brought out my little scales. Let me see if I can get them to work. Come on. This one is being finicky. I'm having a great technology day today. Great tech day. I'll tell you. All right, let's see that. Come on, baby. My one's working good. There it goes. All right, so I'm going to have Arlene do me a favor. I'm going to stand right here with you. Come on over here. All I want you to do is stand on those scales. We will not read the number out loud. Thank God. Yep, I just want you to stand on there. But put your feet off to the sides of these little displays. And then I want you to center yourself to where you feel comfortable. And just pretend that nobody's watching. They're all watching. And if you can do this without moving too much, it just shut off. But you're 7, I'm not going to say the number, but you're 7 pounds different on this side compared to this side. Right, you can step up there. And you are more than welcome to try this when you get done. A scale doesn't lie. I'm not sharing the number because that would be really wrong to do. Arlene would be that was my last session today, not coming back there. But think about that. If she's 7 pounds more weight on one side of her body, what do you think that does to her hip, her knee, her ankle, and every muscle that attaches to it? So I want you to think about balance. That's way more important than flexibility. You don't have to be a gymnast. You don't have to be able to do a split. That is not important for health. There's not one gymnast in the world who's healthier than you because they're flexible. But Olympic athletes are balanced. And it's really important to connect. So I think it's important to talk about what you're up against in terms of the anatomy. If you don't understand the muscles that you're up against, it's really hard to target fixing them, right? And a lot of people have not really ever heard of muscles other than maybe the hamstring. Anybody ever heard of the hamstring? You know why we know that one? Because it's the only one our coaches, who were also the woodshop teacher or the home ec teacher, who had a little side gig being the cross-country coach, right? They didn't know how to spell any of it. And ham looked pretty easy, hamstring. Yeah, sure, go ahead, bend down, get out there. And there's no talk about the real anatomy. That is the stuff that most people are just oblivious to. So let's talk about it real quick. And again, this part of the talk is where people might fall asleep, so I'm gonna try to make it entertaining. The 5 groups of muscles that you have to deal with if you have back pain are just these. It's very easy to fix back pain, okay? They're in Latin for a reason, because that's how doctors talk to you. And when I was in school to become a physician, there was a class called medical terminology, and it was all about how do you use Latin and Greek to confuse someone so that they just make a blind decision and do what you say. That's sad, isn't it? And in a day and age like we have now with the internet and Google and AI and all this stuff, like there's no reason that we should communicate with people like that anymore. So break these words down. Erector. What does it mean to be erect?
Straight up.
Upright. Spine, pretty easy to understand what that does, right? It erects your spine. These muscles are in pairs, go all the way down from your tailbone all the way up to the bottom of your neck. All of them have to be flexible or strong to keep you upright. But because we do this all day, we end up having tight backs. Has anybody ever heard of anyone in the whole world who's ever complained of lower front pain? Not one time, right? If it was age, wouldn't some people go this way? And some people would go this way? No. We all lean forward because it takes pressure off of our nervous system when we're irritated, and we end up getting closer to fetal position as we get older. So, on that note, do me a huge favor, as if I was gonna take a picture of this group. Sit up in your chair as tall as you can. Sit up in that chair as if you were gonna have somebody take your picture to put on Instagram or Facebook or something, or your photo book for the year. Sit up, you can do it. I love when you guys participate. So think about how far you had to move to get there. It was probably inches. And think about how uncomfortable it might feel to be upright. No wonder we go back to our fetal positions much faster, okay? So I need you guys to understand that that's muscles. There may be disc degeneration, there may be misalignment, there may be a lot of things happening, but the muscles are what hurts, and the muscles are what compensate. The latissimus dorsi, those are the lateral muscles of the dorsum. They're the muscles that laterally flex our body. So we've got extenders, the erectors, we've got lateral motion creators in the dorsi. The quadratus lumborum is a flat, broad muscle across the lower back. Very much the most common place where people have pain is in the quadratus lumborum area. The multifidus is a group of muscles that have multiple functions. Those Greeks were really creative when they came up with words. There's rotation from multifidi, there's lateral flexion, and there's extension. And the iliopsoas is a group of muscles, it's a muscle that comes off of your lumbar spine and some of the lumbar discs and attaches to the iliacus, which is an internal hip flexor, to go down to your femur to create hip flexion. But obviously, if we're in a flex state all the time, they're tight and they make us pull our back out of position. So low back pain is a real easy one to fix if you just address one or all 5 of those muscles. Then we got neck muscles. So we got The anterior muscles of our neck are our scalenes. We should stretch them a lot. You know why? Because we all do this. Agreed? We do not need to strengthen our scalenes and make them pull us further forward. And I want to make sense out of all this. Think about a chair. Is a chair a good idea? Doesn't look natural, does it? Would you walk into the woods and find something that looked like that in nature? So man made chairs to be lazy, let's face it. And sitting in an upright posture just seems weird, even though it's really important. But a chair is made for somebody who's 5'5". So if you're 5'5", raise your hand if you're 5'5". Then the chair was made for you. Everybody else, the chair was not made for you. But let's face it, does this feel good or does this feel good? This feels so much better, right? And it's part of the problem that we get comfortable in our misalignment. We don't get comfortable with our proper alignment. If we could just retrain ourselves to be uncomfortable when we didn't sit like this, we would have less damage to our joints. Our hip flexors are a big part of this because think about it, these muscles are supposed to be straight and long all the time. But when we sit, they shorten. We sit a lot, they learn to stay short. And correct me if I'm wrong, everybody in this room has probably done this or at least seen their husband or their mom or dad do this. When they get up, okay, now I can start walking, right? It happens to everybody. So if we understand that a chair is a terrible idea, it's important to know that the scalenes in the neck work the same way. If we're looking down all the time, they shorten. So it's really uncomfortable for us to go into an upright posture, and it's very rare that we look up. Unless you're a bird watcher or an astronomer. I don't know what we do that looks up. But it's called the lordotic curve because it means to look up at the Lord. It literally was from the Latin and Greek. It means looking up. So try to stretch that front part of your neck as much as possible. And then you've also got erector spinae that we talked about from the lower area that are up here that extend your spine back. And then we've got the trapezius muscles on the side. They create shrugging of the shoulder, retraction of the shoulder, and of course, lateral motion of the neck, left or right. Anybody bored out of their mind? Anybody want to run out the door? You can. All right, so you got upper body muscles that are really important. And again, there's 639 muscles in the human body. You don't have to stretch all of them, thank God, because it would take you all day, every day. We really only have to focus on about 55 key muscles to make somebody's body work really good on a musculoskeletal front. The pecs are these muscles. The rotator cuff. Anybody ever heard of the rotator cuff? Raise your hand. You can't because you have a rotator cuff problem. We should talk. And then the deltoids and the lats. And then we've got biceps, triceps, flexion, extension. And the brachioradialis is a muscle that comes from your arm down to your forearm to create supination of the arm. And then our wrist flexors and extensors are a big reason why we end up problematic with things like carpal tunnel or arthritis in our wrists and hands, because we're very flexion dominant. How many of you guys, when you sleep at night, sleep like this? Does that happen? How many of you sleep at night like this? 0. Are you seeing that there's a pattern, like our lifestyle leads to our inflexibility? It's not the other way around. It's not that inflexibility leads to our lifestyle. I guess it could be said that it does, right? Because the more inflexible you get, the less things you try. I can't go play pickleball. I can barely get out of my car without pain. I can't go for long walks because every time I go up my stairs, my back hurts. And then we've got a bunch of stuff. And again, I'm going to send this to you, so please don't get burdened by all the words. But the iliotibial band is on the outside of our leg. We've got the glutes and the piriformis muscle, which is the primary external rotator of our hip, or the extender of our hip is our glutes. Rarely do we do these motions, so no wonder we have weak glutes. Did you know that your glute is not a seat? It's not a muscle we're supposed to sit on. Once again, come back to the chair being a problem. Our glute is a muscle that's supposed to be moving. So when we sit on it all the time, it becomes weak. And one of the primary reasons people have back pain is because they have weak glutes. Or tight glutes, for that matter. Hip flexors are in the front. They flex our hip, the quadriceps extend our knee. And then everybody knows the hamstrings, we've already talked about that, right? But the calves are often overlooked too. And then the tensor fascia lata is a muscle that comes right off of the IT band, but it's a very important hip muscle. So again, I'm gonna just touch on a couple things really fast and then I'll get y'all out of here. How many of us are guilty of any of those 4 things? Raise your hand if you don't do one of those things. No hobbies, no sports, no computer use, no phone. How many of you like to drive? How many of you are from up north? It's amazing that very few hands come up when I say, are you from the South? At Brunswick Forest. I'm from New Jersey. I'm guilty of it too. Sorry, I mean, I'm not smart enough to get out. I've been here 25 years, so I think I've been here longer than I lived in New Jersey. Hobbies, things like the bridge club that comes in here, people that do woodworking, it's, knitting, crocheting. There's so many things that we do that are not sports that are really repetitive motion injuries. And then, of course, the sports, there's a reason Emerge Ortho is right up here. They call it the new house of pickleball because there are so many injuries from people who are trying to be active in their retired years that it stimulates a lot of, unfortunately, surgeries. But those surgeries could be very highly prevented if people just knew how to stretch. It's just a good picture to understand what happens in our studio to make specific stretches happen. If we don't have strapping and belts, it's really hard for the client to relax enough to get a stretch, and it's really hard for us to isolate and target specific muscles without compensation of the muscles we're not trying to stretch. Touching back on, remember we said the quadratus lumborum down here? That's what this stretch does. And that's my dad. Still to this day, goes to Stretch Zone every single week. Playing golf 3 times a week, some days 1 time a week. But it's near and dear to my heart. This is not just, you remember the commercial, I'm not only a client of the hair club for men, I'm the president. Remember that commercial? There's a reason that I do these talks. I'm passionate about people thriving, and my own family gets to benefit from this, so I don't think there's anything more rewarding than that. Again, why the belts? Maybe to keep you from swinging at me. That could be a good reason, right? No. It's there are separate belts for certain parts of your body to keep it specific, which remember we said about goals, got to be specific. It acts like a second set of hands for us. It's like having another practitioner hold down a certain body part so that we can isolate the muscles we're going after. And I want this to be revolutionary. Remember we said it's about revolution, not resolution. If you take anything from me today, write on your little sticky note 3, 5, 7. And think of a scale 1 to 10. 10 being like, oh my Lord, please let go, stop, I'm good. 1 being I barely feel anything. A 3 should be the first place you stop, and it should have a question mark behind it in your mind. You should be like, I guess it's a 3. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like something's happening, but it's not like a painful stretch. It's not like there's a lot going on. Your brain is making a decision. Remember, we said this is neurological. Your brain is making a decision when you get to that first impart of pressure on a muscle to say, is this Arlene doing something stupid again, stepping off the curb wrong, getting hurt, or is this a stretch being done to promote benefit? It doesn't know the difference at first. Especially if you've been, tight for a really long time, it almost thinks the opposite. I'm not going to let that happen again. I remember 20 years ago when I let her go too much to that one direction and I got in so much pain for 3 weeks. So be careful that you hit the 3 and don't go past it first. And it should just be the first inkling of a stretch. You go, okay, I feel it, there it is. And that's it. And you hold it there. Now again, obviously you would want to be on the floor or something, not doing this weight bearing. The 5 is a moderate intensity stretch. So once the 3 is well accepted and the brain says, that's okay, I can handle that. Now you'll feel that muscle, the stretch reflex will start to let go and stop being protective. and will allow you to go farther. And then the same thing happens at the 5. It makes another decision. Is this okay? Is this, am I all right? And once it knows that it's in a safe zone, safe space, it'll allow you to go to a 7, which is the deepest stretch you want to go to on a scale 1 to 10. If you go to an 8, 9, or a 10, you're getting into the revolt zone for the stretch reflex, and it's going to trigger you to be tighter the next day. Even though you'll feel good the day you do it. This is why when the coach said, bend down as far as you can, no pain, no gain. How many of us heard that when we were growing up, right? Because that was wrong. 100% across the board, the most awful advice we ever got for flexibility. So know that you want to stop at those 3 numbers, 3, 5, and 7. Write that down. All right, so the lats we talked about. I want to make a point of these. The lats are a big, broad muscle. They're the biggest muscle in the whole upper body, but they attach to the arm. So a lot of folks that do have shoulder symptoms don't have a rotator cuff problem. They have a tight lat that's not allowing them to do certain motions. The football cheer, right, when we go touchdown, is 4 weeks away, depending on if you're going to watch it or not. Wouldn't that be a good goal? I want to be able to say touchdown and not touchdown. So pay attention to your lats. Those stretches are done very simply on the table as well. Some of our stretches are more like releases. They're just holding pressure points in certain places so the body can correct its own problem. If you work with your body instead of against it, I promise you will see better results. And that just feels incredible. Anybody got pain in the neck? Anybody married? We can't fix that kind of pain in the neck, but remember, traps not only move the scapula, they move our neck this way. Anybody feel it like this all the time? Or you ladies, no offense, but I see it all the time. You got your purse on and you're walking like this. So you're imbalancing yourself from that. Guys, you're not entirely out of trouble because you put a wallet in your back pocket most of the time. Anybody have a wallet in their back pocket right now? It's an old habit you got to kill. Or you got to get 2 wallets. Or you put your one wallet in the front of your pocket. It might keep you from doing all the flexion that causes all the problems with your hip flexors, right? But if you're sitting on a wallet, remember the scales. If this is the wallet underneath my 1 foot, it's going to tilt me, right? And almost everybody that has chronic back pain is from the old model of keeping a wallet in your back pocket on one side, if you're a male. All right, so trapezius muscle is very easy stretch. Extension and flexion are really important, so you always want to be able to stretch out the muscles in the erector spinae area so that they can re-engage and pull your posture back upright. So it seems counterintuitive to push your neck even further forward when you're already forward, but you have to unlock those muscles so that the brain can come back in control and the stretch reflex can kick in and say, no, this is the place I should be. Now, with that being said, sit back up in your chairs and see how much further you've deviated from the first time we checked that 30 minutes ago. And you're in a talk about posture. What do you think happens when you're not here? So I want you to keep the sticky note. The sticky note is super simple. It costs nothing. If you ruin it, get another one. But I promise you, if you do that, we'll talk a month or 2 from now and you'll go, oh my Lord, my life has changed. The deltoids are the 3 muscle heads that come together to be on the top of your shoulder. They bring your arm out and extend it, depending on which one you're using, right? The one in the front brings you this way, the one in the back brings you that way, and the one on the side brings you up. But a lot of people don't stretch their upper body. How many of you have ever thought to stretch your upper body? You see it sometimes with people that, they're getting ready to play pickleball and they're like, I'm ready. Like, what? No, you're not ready, sir. So just know that if you think like a dog or a cat, anybody have a dog? Cat? What do they do first thing when they get up? Even if it's not after, well, they sleep all day. So even if it wasn't first thing in the morning, right? Then they get up at like noon and then 2 and then 3:30 and right, yeah. But they stretch first every single time. We don't. That's part of our problem as humans is we've gotten too used to not stretching and it becomes the pattern. So that stretch is done pretty simply by the practitioner as well. And then most people know this, but maybe don't think about it. Like tricep means 3 heads. Bicep means 2 heads. Quadricep means 4 heads. So muscles are really easy to understand. If you are only going to stretch one head of a muscle, you're not going to stretch the other 2, and you're still going to be limited by the tight one. Does that make sense? Like the tightest muscle is the limiter for the rest of them. So it's not okay to just stretch every muscle. You want to target which ones need the work and focus on those. And while, all the while trying to make flexibility as a whole better, you really got to find out which of the ones is the problematic one to focus on that first and foremost during that first 4 to 8 weeks. That's why you'll see an 160% increase in your range of motion if you do it right. It's being specific. How about that? So those stretches are pretty simple to do as well. And then our pecs, obviously, are not just a vanity muscle, although most people in the gym are only there to make their chest look good, right? Have you noticed that all bodybuilders that you've seen walk like this? Because they don't work on the extensor muscles as much as the ones they can see in the mirror. It's a very vanity-based practice that we see a lot, and most of the people that are bodybuilders need us more than the person who sits on their couch all day. Anybody know Drew Brees? He is a Stretch Zone ambassador. He also owns 7 Stretch Zone locations, and he is on point to get into the Hall of Fame here on February 10th, hopefully. Pro athletes need this just as much as people who sit around and do nothing. That's why it's good for everyone. Rotator cuff, I won't bore you to death. When I send that to you, just take a look at it. But those muscles have their own functions, and it's important to target each in an individual manner to figure out which one is a problem if you have a rotator cuff problem. And know this, Stretch Zone was designed in 2004. It's franchised now all over the country and into Canada, 421 locations. We have the ones in this local area. What worries me is people don't understand what we do because we don't take the time to educate. That's why I come out here and do this, especially for you guys who are already members. Is this new information, at least something that you didn't know? Yeah. Because I can just do it to you, but if you don't understand why, remember we said in the beginning, what's your why, then you're probably not going to stick with it once you feel good. More people than not stop coming to us because their reason is my goals were met. I love my stretcher. The place was clean. I love this place. I think I'm done. Can you see the fault in logic? I mean, I can see if it was like, this place sucks. Brian's personality is terrible. The bathroom was dirty, right? Like I understand somebody not wanting to continue in a business if that's the case, but more people than not love what we do and get better. They just don't have a goal to keep with, to try to keep going. So there's Drew again getting, some stretches on his rotator cuff because we can imagine a quarterback in the NFL probably needs some shoulder work. Think they're imbalanced? Do they throw both sides? No, right? They do this 5,000 times a week. No wonder they're imbalanced, and they're probably in the best shape of anybody that we would all know. Biceps, triceps, they all kind of go in tangent. And then the wrist flexors, there's stretches for those. There's wrist extensor stretches as well. Anybody feeling those glutes right now after we've been sitting for 45, 50 minutes? Again, tight glutes will cause back pain almost every time. So that's why I'm not going to talk too much longer. I want you guys to get up. But I do want you to see something here. So this is what sits underneath of your glute. Imagine if the glute was here and I cut it off and took it off so we could see what was underneath of it. This piriformis muscle, and most of you who have ever had sciatica have heard the word piriformis from your doctor. It's one of the only external rotators, it is the only external rotator of the hip that's on the outside of the sciatic nerve. So when it tightens, it can compress it. And 60% of sciatica cases come from piriformis syndrome, not from a bad disc or a herniated disc. So you can almost assume you have your best chance with sciatica if you stretch properly. You should feel that stretch in your back pocket. And I'll show you one you can do on your own. By the way, I'll send, if you would like, I'll send you a copy of my at-home stretch program. I think it's good for you to have something to work on. If you can all do this for me, back away from your table enough that you can get your leg up. If you just put one leg over your other knee. Now some of you, you'll be like, that's it. It's not gonna go. If that's you, come see me. But you want to be able to get it to parallel to the ground in a figure 4 position, right? See how it looks like a figure 4? And then all you want to do is sit back up in your chair like you did before, and you might already feel it in your piriformis if you're sitting straight up. Can you feel it in your buttock area? So if it's already feeling it, you're probably tight, because you shouldn't feel it. And all you have to do is just lean forward from there, keeping your back straight as much as you can. You don't want to punch. Maybe keep your chin up. You should feel that right in your piriformis. Feel that? It's a good one to do if you're dealing with butt pain, sciatica, or even low back pain. Because let's face it, if the piriformis is an external rotator of the hip, what do you think it does to the spinal bones above it? Everybody hears about the hip flexors, nobody knows what they are. Everybody comes in and I have bad hip flexors. Really? Which one? I don't know. It's true, right? Just know hip flexion is this motion, right? And we talked about already why we have it. It's probably the most common malady in the musculoskeletal world that nobody addresses, especially for back pain. If we could stretch this out, think about how much more erect your spine would be. And those are some specific muscles that we would need to work on. Those stretches are very different. They have to be strapped in, bolstered, and it has to have a practitioner do it. I wish I could say you could do these stretches on your own. You really can't. Not safely. That's the other thing. Safety is way more important than effectiveness, right? If you do a stretch wrong, you're going to get hurt. You're going to stop doing it. This is why January 1st is like a resolution day and January 4th is a resolution quit day. That's why I did this talk on January 8th, because most people are going to come in here going, I tried getting on that treadmill 3 times and I can barely walk. And our studios are packed because of it. It's sad. I mean, I don't want to say that we thrive when you guys don't, but that's the reality of healthcare. And we want to have you thrive when you feel great so that you don't ever get hurt, right? Like it's a whole different model than drugs and surgery and everything reactive. We want to be there to try to be proactive, but it does take some effort on your part to be proactive. I'll finish up here in a minute. I'm just going to blast through these. I did want to show you this last one, or this most important muscle. So the hamstrings, we talked about it in the beginning, right? How many of you know that there's more than one? There's 3. And here's the problem. If we only stretch the one in the middle by going forward, we're still going to be limited by the one on the outside or the one on the inside if it's not as flexible as the one on the very posterior segments. So know that your flexibility in your hamstring is limited by probably 1 muscle, if not 2, maybe 3. But they need to be targeted individually, and there's stretches for those that are specific to the outer bicep femoris, to the inner semitendinosus or the semimembranosus. Hamstrings, we all sort of know we should stretch our hamstrings. I don't think I need to spend much time talking about that. But here's the problem. What if you only stretch your hamstrings every day, and you've never stretched at all? And you're like, I'm doing something. I'm doing a resolution. I'm stretching every day, 2 minutes a day. Well, now you might create an imbalance with the muscles you're not stretching. So again, front to back needs to be the same. Side to side needs to be the same. So when we get done, if you want to try the scale thing, again, I won't read out your numbers out loud, but it would be important for you to see that on yourself. And then our quads, there's 4 of them. Those are important for kicking that knee out. And those stretches are done in a certain way that really targets them without really bending your knee and putting your knee in a bad place. Stretch Zone was started for knee replacements, hip replacements, and spinal fusion surgeries back in 2004. It's evolved to become about everybody. Athletes, teenagers, 95-year-olds. baby boomers, retired people, and anybody that sits at a desk all day. It's for everyone. Your calves get overlooked, but there are two muscles. You got the gastroc, which is the big heart-shaped muscle that's sort of like an upside-down heart. And then your soleus sits underneath of your Achilles tendon. The soleus is very rarely ever stretched on anyone. And it's one of the number one reasons why people have problems with their feet, fasciitis. Think about it. It's the soleus. It goes to the sole of your foot. It controls the arch of your foot. And neuropathy, Achilles tears, Achilles tendonitis, foot pain, knee pain, and hamstring pain really do stem from a calf that's not great. Anybody got fasciitis? Or know somebody who does? Brutal, isn't it? You don't have to live like that. So, we allow you to make your own choices. We don't tell you what to do in our office. You get to choose how often you come in. I would hope that it would be based on some sound reasoning. If you're going to run the marathon in February, you probably want to be there a lot right now. If you're like, I just want to be great, feel good all the time, then you come once a month, you come twice a month, whatever. You pick a choice and you stick with it and you see how it does. You'll know if it's working, no matter what frequency you're on in terms of how often you come. You'll know if it's working because you'll feel good or you won't. It's pretty simple, right? It's like weight loss program. You know if you're getting fatter or not, you step on the scale. You know if you're getting skinny or not. If you're losing too much, you go, whoa, 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 maybe I don't need to eat right perfect every single day. Maybe I can back off and have a cheeseburger once in a while, right? So same thing with flexibility. As you improve, you should be able to tailor your sessions slower or more infrequent, right? If your progress is real, it should last. And that's the difference of changing the stretch reflex or changing the meat of the muscle by just straining it, which is what most people do when they stretch. All right. Again, information. That's all I gave you today. You have to make a choice on what you're going to do with it. Use the sticky note. Put it on your mirror. Will you promise me to do that for yourselves, not for me? Focus on one thing. 4 weeks. What are we doing by the Super Bowl? What am I going to have accomplished? I want to hear about it. In fact, if I email you this and you do hit your goal, send me an email and say, yes, I did. I would love to know that what I do makes some difference in the world. Because sometimes I don't know. Sometimes people will see me out of Lowe's and they're like, oh man, I came to your talk 2 years ago. It changed my life. Thank you so much. And I'm like, why couldn't you have just sent a little thanks, Brian? I don't need my horn tooted, but it would be nice to know that what I do means something and makes a difference in somebody's life. A couple things. So we got locations in Wilmington across the bridge. That's what the inside of a typical studio looks like. There are multiple practitioners. All our practitioners are certified through the NCBTMB, which is a big jumble of letters. It's the same board that certifies massage therapists in the country or anybody in the bodywork field. And then most of my practitioners, if not all of them, I make sure that I hire them out of school from exercise science, kinesiology programs, PT, or pre-PT programs. They're very knowledgeable people before they even get certified to be a stretch zone practitioner. And so it's important to know it's not just some knucklehead working on you that's never put their hands on the body. Well, because I think too much, because Stretch Zone is a big franchise all over the country. It's the number one fastest growing wellness industry franchise in the world right now. It seems a little too canned. Like, oh, it's going to be the same thing every time I go in. No, I told you there's 55 muscles. You may only get through 12, 13, 14 in one given half-hour session. But your sessions change as you improve, and the things that are getting better don't need to be worked on as much as the ones that aren't getting better. Then we focus on those. Does that make sense? It's not the same thing every time you come in there. And it's a one-on-one stretch. Somebody does the work to you, for you, by you, and them. It's not a class where we have a rolled out mats and it's like a yoga class. It's important to know because unfortunately most people haven't stepped into our studios to know what it is we do. And it's unfortunate because they probably could benefit if somebody had just done this. So with that being said, I'm going to allow you to come in. It's always a free first 30-minute demo to try it. I'm going to send you the at-home stretches. You can do them however you choose but just be smart. It would be a good idea to take us up on the idea of just coming in for the demo. And if I can tell you it's your bicep femoris, that's the hamstring you need to focus on, then you have a path that you could try to do it on your own. But if you want us to do it, that's what we're there to do too. So with that being said, I'll end it.